Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's second video, day 10. Will take us to the 17th of January, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with extended GFS and ECM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks, so I should get on with that for you in a moment. Just so you've probably been waiting for GMA Friday, first GMA Friday of the year. I was hoping to get that uploaded for you today. Unfortunately, there's some sort of issue with the CFS website, which means they are not updating the charts at the moment. Haven't done for a couple of days, so I don't know what's happened. Occasionally, they're very consistent getting the charts updated daily at NOAA and NCUP, but occasionally they do go offline for a few days. It seems to be one of those scenarios where that's happened again. So at the moment, no CFS data, which means I haven't been able to bring you GMA Friday this week. So I'm so sorry. That's the third week we've had to miss out GMA Friday, you know, with Christmas and New Year and whatnot. But there we go. These things happen. We have to rely on these third-party websites, and if they don't update data, then we can't bring you that data. We only show you the GMA though for the next 4 weeks at the end of this video, so you will see what GMA is forecasting. You know, at the end of the video. But as far as CFS is concerned, we have not got any CFS data to show you, you know, any fresh, updated CFS data to show you, unfortunately. Hopefully the CFS will be back in business very, very soon. Although I know a lot of you don't really like the CFS, so actually, you know, CFS being offline, I suspect a lot of you hang out the flags, probably. I don't know. But, yeah, we will be able to bring you the CFS data, hopefully, as soon as they start updating. Now, it's a very auspicious day for myself today. So, 10 years ago, this is my original YouTube channel, the Having Partridge YouTube channel. It's 10 years ago today. Can you believe that? Since I uploaded my very, very first video. It was Saturday the 7th of January 2012. I uploaded a weekend forecast. Quite short. It was just me sat in front of a little not webcam, but a little camera, you know, thing on a tripod. And I was sat in front of that and I gave a forecast. And I was really bad. The video was very, very poor quality. I was far too close to the camera. I remember that, and yeah, you know, I was really, really, really bad. But I was just testing the waters, you know, experimenting, seeing if there was any interest. And, you know, quite a few people were interested in that. So within a few weeks, I'd upgraded everything and installed some screen capture software and a highlighter pen and got a proper webcam, and we was off and running, being able to do weather videos. And again, I wasn't all that good on those earlier weather videos from 2012, but they're all on the channel here from around March, I think, of 2012. Anyway, I say this is my original channel, so if you've not checked out the original channel, you can go to it at any time. The link is in the description with the videos, and you can check out all of the old weather videos that I did back in the day on that channel in 2012, 2013, and marvel at how young I looked and how old I look now, 10 years on. But yeah, you know, very, very exciting day. 10 years, a decade of doing weather videos on YouTube. What a milestone that is. And of course, I could never have dreamed when I started testing things out that it would all have developed so much. So of course, this is the GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel, and this will be having its 10-year anniversary in 2024. March. I started this channel in March 2014. So it's going to be its 8th anniversary this March, and the 10th anniversary of the GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel will be in 2024. But we now have 13,000 subscribers over. I could never have dreamed when I started, you know, just doing little videos in front of a camera on a tripod, that a decade on, I would have a channel with 13,000 subscribers, and I would be earning my living, you know, doing this. So I've got to say thank you so much to all of you for the way that you have embraced everything over the past 10 years, you know, the support that you've given me, the kindness, generosity that you have shown me over the past decade has been absolutely unbelievable. And I'm so lucky and so privileged to be in the position that I am now able to earn a living, do my job, bringing weather forecasts to all of you via YouTube. So I am incredibly privileged and lucky, but it's developed the way it has, and I never expected in my wildest dreams that I would be in this position. So I just got to say thank you so much to each and every one of you, however you support us, you know, subscribers, viewers, super chatters on the live stream, channel members, patrons, PayPal donors, whatever support you give to me and to GavsWeatherVids. Just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it, over the past 10 years, but we are not done yet. So, that said, let's get on with today's 10 to 14 day. Thank you so much, everybody. Right, I'm going to start off with the temperature at 30 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole. This is close to the Stratosphere. We can see that, it's from the JMA, we can see that we have got a colder than average stratosphere at 30 HPA. So the grey line is the trend line. At this time of year, you'll be expecting the temperature to begin to start lifting up a little bit in the stratosphere now, moving to their peak in the summer, of course. But actually, we see we've got a very cold stratospheric temperature with the black line here below -80. So stratospheric temperatures at 30 HPA are hovering around -83, something like that, which is very, very cold indeed. If you go a little bit further up to 10 HPA, excuse me, we can see that there it's not quite as cold as that, but it is still colder than average, with temperatures around -72 or -73, again, under that grey line, under the trend for time of the year. So clearly we have, a very cold stratospheric temperature at both 10 and 30 HPA. This will be driving zonality, it'll be driving the polar vortex. Actually, I've had a little bit of a decoupling between the troposphere and the stratosphere so far this winter, because we haven't really seen a very strong polar vortex so far. We have had a lot of high pressure, actually, through this winter. We haven't seen a great deal of storminess. If we get a proper coupling up of the stratosphere with the troposphere, due to how cold these stratospheric temperatures are, we can probably expect a very stormy and zonal spell, though, to set up at some point. So it will be a case of watching what's going to happen, unless we get a sudden stratospheric warming, of course. So let's see what's going on with temperatures at 10 HPA in the stratosphere currently. So we have had a warming over the past few days over Siberia. This is not a sudden stratospheric warming. I think some people get confused by just general warmings of the stratosphere and sudden stratospheric warmings. It's not a sudden stratospheric warming. To get a sudden stratospheric warming, we would have to take this black line up to something like that, and it would have to be over the North Pole, not over Siberia. So we have had a warming of the stratosphere over Siberia, not a sudden stratospheric warming, and nowhere near enough to, knock out the polar vortex. But blue and purple colours there, the cold temperatures over in the stratosphere, over the North Pole and Greenland and the Arctic, and whatnot, driving the PV. Right, let's see what happens then. So over the next few days, we keep sort of modest warming going over Siberia. Again, this is not a sudden stratospheric warming, but a little bit of warming continues over Siberia. Meanwhile, those blue and purple colours remain in situ over the Arctic and over the North Pole as well. As we run on into the second half of January, any sign of a stratospheric warming or a sudden stratospheric warming? Then, not really. We just keep those cold blue colours going over the Arctic and over the North Pole. Round the edges, there's a little bit of warming going on, but certainly no sign of any particular, sort of dramatic warming of the stratosphere. Certainly not some dramatic warming. It's struggling to get a modest warming of the stratosphere, really, over the next couple of weeks. So for the time being, the wait for an SSW continues. Again, we are expecting a sudden stratospheric warming this winter due to the strong easterly QBO and other factors, but at the moment it remains the case that there is no sign of that, so the wait continues. CT looks like this. The CT continues to come down. We lost about another degree yesterday. So central temperature now is standing at 6.9. That's an anomaly of now 3.3 above average. Bear in mind, on New Year's Day, that was over 9 degrees above average. So that has come down a lot over the past week. That is provisional to yesterday, to the 6th of January. That's going to come down more today. So I suspect by the time we get through to tomorrow, that will be somewhere in the mid to low 6s, 6.5, or maybe even a little bit lower. So we continue to unravel that exceptionally warm opening day of January, that exceptionally warm New Year's Day. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at London today. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average. For London, we're starting off below average, cold average at the moment. We're going to stay generally quite cool through the weekend. Into next week, though, there is a rise in the upper air temperatures associated with high pressure though, so it won't necessarily be that warm. Depends on the exact position of the high pressure, whether we pull in cold air from up the continent. Into the second half of January, there's still this cooling trend in evidence, although we have got a lot of scatter in there, so we have several summer members through the third week of January that are looking cold, but some that are holding up, including today's 6Z operational run, which was very mild, at various points in its latter stages. So, a lot of uncertainty, but it does look as though there is a cooling or colder trend, as we go into the second half of January within the ECM ensembles, albeit with a lot of scatter. Precipitation-wise, going to be quite unsettled over the next few days, particularly wet tomorrow. Don't get a drying trend though through next week as the high pressure builds in, then maybe start turning a little bit more unsettled as we move out into the second week of January. Sea level pressure looking like this, so we are in some very high pressure in a few days time. Early next week, going to go up to around 1,040 millibars after low pressure to start off with, and then just a gradual sort of drop in pressure as we move into the second half of January. Not all that dramatic though. 2 meter temperatures are looking like this. So nowhere near as warm next week now for 2 meter temperatures as we saw a few days ago. You remember a few days ago it was predicted that temperatures would rise up into double digits again. Now generally we're keeping the surface temperatures under 8 degrees or around or under 8 degrees. So just looking quite chilly really as we go into next week, and then probably a further drop, for a while, becoming quite cold around the middle part of the month. Maybe a slight lift up in the 2 meter temperatures towards the end of the third week of January. That's very extreme range. There's a lot of scatter within that, so we have got these cold ensemble members down here. One or two of them are actually producing ice days, can you believe? Snow row looks like that, so not much showing up in terms of snow row for London. We're going to have like a prolonged dry spell just here, so obviously not going to be much snow, and only very modest, slight snow spikes beyond that, so not much going on from a snow perspective for London. If we go a little bit further north, somewhere like Wigan, how's things looking there? So obviously we have got more in way of wintry showers around today, and maybe signs of some wintriness coming through into second half of January as well. A little bit better there than say in London. Temperature anomalies on the 6th to 14th of January are a little bit colder than average. Precipitation anomalies from the 6th to 14th of January there a little bit drier than average too. Latest wind from that from earthnullschool.net shows we're bringing in quite a cold westerly wind today with low pressure out in the Atlantic, setting up potentially a very unsettled spell through the course of the weekend. Right, let's start having a look at some chart data then. So this is how the UK Met Euro is looking for midnight on Monday. So we're trying to build up a Scandinavian high early next week. That's causing all sorts of havoc within model output as to how much high pressure we get. So high pressure trying to build over Scandinavia, but got very deep low pressure south of Greenland. This low pressure is actually the drive, so the Scandinavian high is not able to get an ascendancy. However, it does sort of reach to the Azores high. So the Azores high, Scandinavian high kind of reach together and form just a large area of high pressure really across much of Western Europe through the middle part of next week, and then that goes on into the second half of next week. Now, where this high pressure sits is absolutely critical as to the feel of the weather. The UK Met Euro has mild air coming in around the top of the high into the northern half of the country, but for England and Wales, you would probably expect the risk of some frost and fog under the centre of that high pressure through the second half of next week. As far as Icon is looking, again, we've got high pressure building up over Scandinavia through the early part of next week. And then, again, same idea, we sort of build up this area of high pressure from the south and from the southwest. That's the Azores high trying to ridge northwards. That carries on second half of next week, but nowhere near as strong with the high pressures like the UK Met Euro was looking. So that's generally mild across all parts of the country. Even in the south, there would only be very limited chance of frost with that. Most areas are in most mild west or southwesterly winds. So Icon, really limiting the building pressure for the course of next week, and therefore gives us a mild or even a very mild week next week. Now have a look at the GFS midnight run. Again, same idea for Monday. High pressure is trying to get going over Scandinavia, but look how much stronger the build of pressure is by the middle of next week. So virtually all parts of the country by the middle of next week under that area of high pressure. Therefore, that is a colder, frostier type scenario. The southwest is being restricted just to the extreme northwest of Scotland. And so, for the second half of next week, actually, the high pressure is over to the east of the country, pulling in the air from off the continent. And although the upper air temperatures are relatively mild, surface temperatures, indicated by the dew points, are looking really quite cold for the second half of next week, with widespread frost likely. And look how cold it is over on the continent as well, where that air is drifting in from. We keep that anticyclonic influence going into the middle weekend of January, so further risk of frost, and then the high pressure sort of repositions just out to our west, and we pull in a rather colder northerly, but still a lot of dry weather under that area of high pressure. It just goes on and on really with that high pressure right way to the very end of the GFS midnight run. That high keeps us mostly dry, but with an continued risk of hard overnight frost. And so we'd have a run of at least a week, maybe more, of really frosty nights there with the GFS midnight run. If that came off, we would have an appreciably low CT by that point, you know, as far as we get to 23rd of January. And if that GFS run came off, it would be particularly wintry from a snow perspective, but we would have quite a cold CT by then, probably below average after a run of at least a week, maybe more, but really quite harsh overnight frost. So as I say, the exact position of this high pressure is all important. Bear in mind, if the icon comes off, we're going to be, really quite mild through the course of next week. GFS 6Z, again, looking like this. High pressure tries to build over Scandinavia, doesn't come off, but is enough to allow this area of high pressure to centre over the country. So again, there's a risk of quite significant overnight frost through the course of next week with that area of high pressure. Look at the dew points for 6 a.m. on Thursday, for example. Most parts of the country are looking cold, very cold over on the continent, and that's where the air is drifting in from. So several cold nights coming up through the second half of next week, frosty nights as well with that area of high pressure. And then that starts to slip away to the east, and we begin to go a little bit more unsettled, but we keep the frosty nights going into the weekend. Eventually, the GFS 6Z turns milder and more unsettled into the extended range before it finishes up trying to pull down a northerly. Bear in mind, on the ensemble graph, if you go back to it, you can see that it was a bit of a warm outlier at one point or various points late on in that run. So, again, I think I'm going to focus really on next week on the position of that high pressure. Anything beyond that is fraught with all sorts of danger. GEM looking like this. If you're enjoying a video on this 10th anniversary of the start of all of this for myself, then please can you smash your like button, make sure you sub to my channel. Thank you so much for doing that, and drop a comment and something about this and all of our videos. The GEM looks like that, high pressure building over Scandinavia, or trying to on Monday, but doesn't come off. However, it is enough to allow high pressure to develop, but again a little bit further southwards compared to the GFS with that high pressure, meaning that more of the country is in that mild west or southwesterly through the second half of next week. Eventually we finish up turning unsettled, milder, wetter and windier, and then we've got the ECM that looks like that. So once more we're trying to build up an area of high pressure in Scandinavia on Monday. There's too much energy in the Atlantic to allow that to come off. However, it does allow an area of high pressure to set up across many parts of Western Europe. This is a little bit further north with that high pressure, actually. So England and Wales might be frosty with that second half next week, while Scotland is still relatively mild, though, in most southwesterly winds. Eventually, we finish up with high pressure more or less centrally located over country, so an increasing risk of frost and a big northerly blast coming into northern and northeastern Europe with northerly winds and the risk of some snow through there. And we're just on the periphery of it again by day 10 with the ECM. So, that was a little bit poised. It could go in either direction, but probably still quite chilly, though, for southern and west areas. But main thing as well, in the next 10 days, but there will be a lot of dry weather once we get to around Tuesday, Wednesday next week onwards. Precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Meteo.com shows very wet weather coming in on Saturday, and then we're into wintry showers through the early part of next week before it all turns dry as high pressure develops, and then it's mainly high high and dry really up towards day 10. Means there'll be options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10, which gets to the 17th of January. 25 members of the ECM ensembles of high pressure over and side to western country, mainly dry, with that could be a little bit on the chilly side, especially so in more southern areas. 17 with high pressure more to our west southwest, low pressure to our north. That's a little bit more unsettled and milder. And then 9 with high pressure to our west, low pressure to our east. And we're almost pulling in a northerly wind with that. That's probably the coldest option, especially so for the north and the east. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. It gets to 22nd of January. 21 members of the ECM ensemble pull high pressure out west, drop a trough of low pressure in to the east, and probably pull in a cold northerly wind. 16 with high pressure over the top of the coast. That's going to bring frost and fog. And then 14 looking mild with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, and in come those southwesterly winds. Last thing I'm going to leave you with CFS V2. So we haven't been, last thing I'm going to leave you with is JMA. So I can't bring you JMA Friday, as I said. I will bring you the JMA weeklies though from the North Pole and Arctic view down. So this is the week 1 JMA 500 millibar height anomaly with high pressure over to western country, low pressure to the north, winds coming in from the west. It's going to be mainly dry, minus weather in the north, could be some frost in the south. Week 2 will take high pressure to the west, have low pressure to the north and northeast, and the wind on a northwest southeast line. That could be a little bit cooler, especially for northern and eastern areas. Still a lot of dry weather though. And then weeks 3 and 4, getting us to the end of January, start of February, has high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, winds in from the west, so it's pretty mild, and rather westerly and zonal. No sign of anything particularly cold with the JMA weeklies this week. Will the CFS have shown similar? We shall never know, or we'll only know when the CFS updates. Right, that is it then. So all of that aside, I think I've got to focus on next week, which is still not sorted out. How much of a build of pressure will we get next week? Will we locate that high pressure centrally over and strike to the east of the country next week, as the GFS wants to do, and pull in that cold air from off the continent? If we do that, we're going to have a lot of frost next week, especially later on next week. Will we go like Icon and GM and just have a mild west or southwesterly through most parts of the country next week? You know, that's the number one focus. So I'm going to do a weekend forecast, so I hope it's resolved soon where that high pressure is sitting next week. And then beyond that, what happens with the high? Does the high go north and pull in cold northerly winds, or does the high sink south and we go milder and wetter again and into another run of westerlies? That is very much to be revealed, and we'll be keeping you updated, of course, at GavsWeatherVids over the next few days about all of this. If you enjoyed the video, please give a smash like button to make you sub to the channel. Thank you so much for doing that. Drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. We're done for today's content. No live stream tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with 7 AM broadcast. We will have week ahead broadcast as well as a 10 to 14 day, and the EC 6 weeks look ahead too. So keep checking back to all of the updates tomorrow. But for this video, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.